I'm Ethan, I love muzzleloading. Today we're back in the shop to work on a little piece of kind of contemporary muzzleloading history here. What I've got is an original CVA 50 caliber percussion Hawken kit from the 1980s. In contemporary muzzleloading, and we think about kind of the history of modern muzzleloading in so far as like bicentennial forward, the CVA kits are still some of the most beloved kits and muzzleloaders out there. Apart from the Thompson Center Hawken, number two for most people is going to be a CVA Hawken kit, just like this one. And I have the opportunity now to go through and assemble one and finish one out straight from the 1980s and bring you along for the process. This actually comes from a local family here in my area that the late father purchased and started this CVA Hawken kit and has since passed, and there's some family members that are looking to and want to get this muzzleloader out and use it for some hunting seasons here in Indiana. And then it came to the shop here and I couldn't say no. I love families that are wanting to continue their tradition in muzzleloading. So for me it's really neat to be able to put together an original CVA kit just like this one, but it's also really nice to have a little bit of a part in a family's continued interest in muzzleloading. So for this video series we're going to take you through and show you how I'm going to finish out this CVA Hawken kit. If you saw our Invest Arms Gamer Hawken series, it's going to be a little bit similar to that because we have a lot of the same things to do, but I'm going to go through and do things a little bit differently here. This is kind of a traditional contemporary muzzleloading piece, so we're not going to go too far into the weird category, maybe like we did a little bit with our Invest Arms kit. We're going to take this through and finish it out just as somebody in the 1980s would have, with many of the same tools and finishes. I've got some neat ideas kind of lined up for this kit. Looking at it outright here, we have a kit that's very similar to some of the other kits that are still on the market today, both from Traditions, Invest Arms, some of the Lyman kits, and even some of the Pedersoli Hawken kits that are out there. You're going to find very similar. This is a 50 caliber. It just says Hawken on it, so this is either a carry through on the CVA models through the different naming conventions like the mountain rifle, or it's an early kit. As we do this, I'm going to do some more research and maybe try to narrow down a time frame for this kit in particular. Something that's neat that comes with this kit as we're building it here is a full owner's manual and warranty manual information. So I'm going to include photos of each page of the manual just as a historic archive at ilovemuzzleloading.com to go along with the build series, where I'll be documenting and writing in photographs the build to go along with the videos. So just if you have a chance, just take a look through some of this stuff. It's a really small pamphlet, very similar to the Philadelphia Derringer that I built as a kid. Same format and everything, but just I love the schematic drawings that we have in here. We have a full parts list and parts numbers. I kind of geek out about that. I get asked a lot about tools when I'm in the shop making these kind of videos. I want to say that I have, and I'm really fortunate, really blessed to have the kind of shop that I have. You can see back here is just full of tools, and there are just tools everywhere. I'm going to do my best to name each of the tools I'm using as I'm using them so that you can take notes, and I'll try to list those in the blog posts that go with the videos. But even if you see me using a tool, if I'm talking about a specialty tool, I'm going to do my best to mention a tool that you can pick up from your local hardware store or your local big box like home improvement store, Harbor Freight even, as a means to get through your kit. By no means do you need a full decked out shop like I have here to build one of these kits, and please don't be discouraged if I'm using a wide variety of tools to do something, because you can do it out there with a very limited amount of tools. Just like my previous Hawken builds, I'm going to be using Bob Woodfill's book, The Hawken Rifle, Its Evolution from 1822 to 1870. This is a really great book on documenting the history of the Hawken rifle, and it provides some great photographs of both original and contemporary made Hawkens, as well as some Hawkens made by Bob, who is a Hawken expert here. We're going to be using this book to kind of inform some of the shaping and some of the stylistic choices on the rifle as we go down the road. Really quick before we dive into this series, I want to say that YouTube can be pretty finicky when it comes to building a muzzleloader kit like this one. I do my best to navigate the waters to still bring the content to you, but they have banned and removed series before from other YouTubers. That being said, if you do ever find this video series has disappeared or it's no longer visible on YouTube, you can check it out on the I Love Muzzleloading Utreon channel. This is a video hosting service that's trying to serve itself as an alternative to YouTube, and it's really growing in popularity in the firearms and the shooting sports community, which is why I am there. I know there's a lot of people that want other platforms out there, and I'm doing my best to back up the entire catalog of the channel to these other platforms that are out there, but it just takes a lot of time on my end, and it takes time away from producing stuff like this. So right now, if you want to find a backup of the I Love Muzzleloading channel and a series like this, if it ever disappears from YouTube, you can find it at ilovemuzzleloading.com or at the I Love Muzzleloading Utreon channel. Links to all of that at ilovemuzzleloading.com, as well as in the description of every single video. So if YouTube's not your jam, totally understand. You can find easy access links to those alternative platforms in the description of every video. Okay, so the first real part, apart from getting our tools around and reading our instructions here, which is really just make sure you read the manual and you can build a fine muzzleloader. We're going to start with fitting the butt plate, which isn't attached here. Put the butt plate in position at the rear of the stock. Pretty standard here. And then attach it to the stock using the screws. Okay, I think part of that might have been done for us here. Take a look. Oh, I was wrong. Okay, cool. We get to do it. Here's a far away view of how I'm holding this to work on this butt plate. I'm supporting the barrel over here and my gunsmithing vise. This is just a rotating vise here. That's really great for doing this kind of work. And then to support the other end here, I just have a homemade box out of 3/4 inch plywood here that will clamp to the bench. But this gives me a nice stable work surface on this end for stock work or barrel work. I like this because I can keep it on my bench. You could obviously work out of your vise here, but this is just how I'm choosing to do it. So really this doesn't look... To make sure I'm pretty straight up and down here, at least 90 degrees as it sits from the drill to the stock. So the underside of the stock that we have here is at an angle. So it's throwing this off. So while it might not look like I'm at 90 degrees in the video, I'm doing my best to be 90 degrees from this face as you're looking at it. I'm just going to go in 1/2 inch. Okay, so I'm backing out. We'll see how well this fits. That lines up pretty well for us. Our screw fits well. And we have, you know, pretty minimal gappage. Because we're coming into the end here, I've shifted how I'm working this. We have it now all in the vise, but we're not really applying a lot of pressure here, so I'm not really worried about it. In the hole, I can see our center line, which is good. That means everything lines up pretty well. You'll notice around our butt plate here, it's not perfect. This is not CNC'd into the wood or to match up here. So we have some wood to remove here and on this side as well as up here to get all this to match up. That's totally normal. On the underside here, I have quite a bit of extra butt plate. So we'll file this away so that this matches back here with the wood. This is kind of standard from what I see for a lot of these kits from this period, and even some of the kits that are available today. Like from Traditions, you'll see that butt plate casting isn't exactly matched to the stock. So we'll take out our top butt plate screw so we can get a clean look at the other side. You can see here my awl went through and eclipsed or cut into our really hillbilly rough center line here. So we know that's right and that's good. It should line up pretty well all the way through. We're just going to take our hand drill here again. I'm going to do my best to line this up. I'm going to shift the camera just a little bit. So I'm looking from this direction here to make sure I'm lined up. And I'm kind of monitoring from the other side as well to make sure we're lined up. Okay, in that 1/2 inch. Backing out. This is just a really fun tool, really nice and quiet. I could have chucked this up into our little electric drill here, but it's always fun to get this off the rack when you have the opportunity. So we'll drop this back on. I'm just going to finger set this screw since it's already been in the stock once. Now when you're doing this, I really recommend, because it's been repeated to me a few times, and it's totally right. It really pays to have a set of screwdrivers where you can go through and match to the screw that you're using and the screw that you have. So a set of gunsmith screws of some kind is really beneficial, so that you can match with the screw, you know you can bite into it, and that you're not going to chip it or make it look nasty like I just did there. That's our butt plate fitted. It's on the stock. I mean, and I think it looks okay for what we're going with, what we're working with here. Give you guys a look at that from the side. There we go. Not too shabby, I don't think, for kind of off the shelf here. Okay, next up, seating the lock. That's done. Looks pretty good, really. Our lock washers are fitted. Barrel tang in stock. That's all fitted and in there. Checking for a gap between the lock and the barrel here vertically. I don't see one, which is really nice. Installation of the trigger assembly. Okay. We'll flip this around. Take a look at our triggers. Our trigger assembly here is pretty standard for even today's Hawken muzzleloader kits. I'm dropping it in here to its inlet, and it lines up really well. We don't have any gaps or anything, so just enough wood has been removed to match this, and it's really a nice tight fit in here, which I'm really impressed with. I've taken my awl here, and I'm lining up just kind of a center just by my eye, and I'm marking there for my drill so that we can drill in and pre-cut our screw hole here. I did this once and the camera wasn't rolling, so if it looks like I just did the same thing and I already had a hole there, that's why. So now we can pop out our trigger assembly here, and we're going to use our same 3/32, looks like, drill bit here. We want to check our tang screw alignment, I think, actually first, or a tang bolt. So on many of these kits, our tang bolt, our screw is going to come through on the underside and connect with our trigger assembly. Oh no, we do not have our tang bolt. Uh-oh. So that's something that we're going to have to work on finding, is a tang bolt for this old CVA kit. I mean, it's understandable. Stuff gets lost over time. That kind of explains why it wasn't in it when we got it. So I'll work on sourcing one of those off camera. We don't need to go through that at all. If you're doing one of these, just go ahead and leave your drill bit in your drill. It looks like most of these are going to be the same dimension. So that 3/32 and a 1/2 inch. I like using a hand drill too, especially for something like this, because I can't really mess up as fast. I can still mess up, and knowing me, it's real easy to mess up. But with an electric tool or a power tool, you can mess up really quickly and mess up a lot really quickly. But with a hand tool, it's a little slower to mess up. That fits in there well. We have a variety of the same length screw here, so I'm going to operate on the assumption that it's just a kind of the generic hardware screw for the hardware on this kit. I like to get these started, especially on their initial set, with my fingers, just to make sure that I've got them in there the dimension that I want. You know, got them in there straight and lined up. So that looks pretty good. These screws are pretty shallow. You can see my bit kind of jumping out. But that screw sets in there nice. And this will be plenty for us to work on this stock as we're waiting on our tang bolt to arrive. I think I'll probably make a call to Jim Christie at Deer Creek Products. He should have one of those bolts, or I might be able to find the dimensions online and find it at the hardware store too, if that's kind of your jam. Patch box. Trigger guard. Okay, so for me, just as muzzle loaders go, I like getting the trigger guard on there quickly. These triggers are tough, but they are important, and they are small. So I like to get it to where I can protect those as quickly as possible. So while the instructions have the trigger guard coming in later, we're just going to go ahead and test our fit right now, since we have our trigger guard, or our trigger assembly in. And what I'm finding is something that we find with a lot of these is that the trigger guards are kind of the weak point on these kits. So our trigger guard is a little elongated compared to our inlets. It's not elongated much, about 1/8 of an inch. And with these, even to today, you have a couple options. In the modern kits, like those from Traditions that I've put together, they recommend not bending the trigger guard because there are concerns about the stiffness or the hardness of the brass, and you can break them very easily. That being said, there are people out there that say it's fine to try to bend it and it'll be fine and not to worry about it. I am a little more cautious about it, especially because I don't know what this is made out of and it's been sitting for a long time. So I'm just tapping this and kind of wedging it forward there a little bit to fill out my front inlet here. What I can do now is I have a couple options. I can look at this and I can either remove metal to match the wood inlet that's already there, or I can remove wood to match the metal. And it's really up to you and what you think and what you want to do. The safest bet, I think, is to remove wood to match the metal. We're just going to do a little bit of inletting here to match this up. And that's just the way that I'm looking at doing it. If you ask 10 other people, you're going to get a variety of different answers on that. Just for my capabilities sitting here in the shop, that's what we're going to do. I'm going to gently knock that out. And we're just going to take our inletting black, our Sharpie here. We're just going to mark this up. And I'm going to mark up along the edge there too, just to make sure that we're getting this, getting as much mark as we can. And I'm looking at it, you know, from the top here, and we are pretty centered, so I'm not worried about that. My goal is to simply extend the inlet that's already there up slightly. So here, this little mark there I'm pointing out with that pencil is what was marked with our inletting black. You'll notice that it does not come all the way around to give us a full picture of this cut, which is understandable. It's a pretty archaic, kind of a hillbilly way to do it. So another thing that you can do is make sure that you're seated where you want to be. And you can come in with a thin bladed X-Acto knife. And I'm going to come in at a pretty sharp angle here. You might be able to make it out in the video. Sometimes angles are a little funny on video. But I'm coming in at a sharp angle so that my X-Acto cut is inside as much as I can get it to be the perimeter of this hardware piece of our trigger guard here. Because I want whatever I'm doing to be tight. I don't want to come out, really, of the hardware. I want a nice clean line. So I'm coming down, intersecting with that wood inside the trigger guard. And I'm just coming around with my X-Acto. And when I look up close here now, you can see this line on either side. It's a little harder to see on that side there. But there is a complete look at what we need to take out as far as wood goes here. So I'm going to get a set of chisels here, and we'll start removing this. To work on this inlet, I'm going to be using a set of file Swiss-made palm chisels. If you want to buy once, cry once, woodworking, kit building, muzzleloader building chisel, you need a set of these. They're just really nice. They're my favorite to use. And they get used all the time here in the shop. This is just a number 7 curve there. You can see a little bit of that swoop. Really shallow, but this is a nice way I find to do a little inlet like this. And I'm not going to come out to that line just yet. I'm going to work my way out to it. So I have a little bit here I can take out. Oh boy, that wood's hard. I'm just going to start working my way around that inlet. Very gingerly. I don't want this to chip. And looking at it, my swoop is just a little too wide. Setting my chisel down, we'll bring our part back in. And I just bring that in because I want to check. I want to keep checking as I'm working on this kind of modification of the stock. I like to have a nice clean inlet if I can. And the only way to get that nice clean inlet is to be careful and not remove too much. Don't want to get carried away. I'm now grabbing a number 9, a bit of a sharper curve to get up into the peak of this inlet. Again, same style chisel, it's just a little palm chisel. And I'm kind of using the side of it to match the curve of our inletting black. Okay, we have a little bit there to take care of. I'm not too concerned about what the inside of this inlet looks like, but I do want nice even walls all the way down to the base, because that's going to give us the best fit of our piece of hardware. Okay, we're close. Where are we hitting? I don't know where we're hitting. I've removed quite a bit, but to find out where we're hitting and where we need more, I'm just going to mark up our piece again. Get quite a bit of that Sharpie on there. And there are, you know, particular inletting blacks that you can get and use. You can use a candle soot if you want to be historically accurate with your build, which is fine. I'm going to give this a couple taps. Okay. And we can see there a bit of where we're hitting. Oh, that's backwards. Helps to put the trigger guard in the right way. So I'm able to rock it a little bit and get a little bit of that in there. And I think we're hanging up a little bit on this side over here. So now what I'll start to find as we're working on getting this to fit is our inletting black will start to show up along the sides here. And it shows up in this curve as well. And what that's telling us is our walls aren't straight, which is fine. We're just going to keep clearing those out. But just like we had a mark at the top of the stock on our initial set for this piece, we're going to have marks continually until we hit bottom, because those walls aren't perfect or even enough for it to work. When I say perfect, it by no means has to be perfect. But it's the kind of thing we're going to run into until it fits. So we're just going to take chisel here a bit. And if you get into more advanced muzzleloader building, you will find that you want to inlet your pieces with a bit of a sweep, so that they go in like this. So the sides of your piece kind of set in a little bit like that, I think, is the appropriate way. I could have that backwards though. I'm a little dyslexic. And there it's starting to set, which is good. So I'm just going to rock it side to side. So you can see here we have a shelf of wood along this side that we've peeled back a little bit. It's not damaged or anything, but it's showing us that we need to take a little bit off of this wall. And then over here on this side, you can see that line there. That's our inletting black on the side of our piece as it's coming down, pressing into that side wall of the inlet. So we need to take a little bit more off there, shave a little bit off on both sides. We should be pretty close to fitting. To do the side walls of the straight sides, we're just going to use this number 1 straight chisel here. I'm doing my best to come in here and index with the wall that the plate or the guard left as we inset, and I'm just pressing down and we can remove that. And then I'm gently coming in here at a 90 degree to slide that part out. You don't want to come in with force here, because it'll just come out that side of the inlet, and then you'll be frustrated with yourself. Struggling with a little bit, I think, of a gap here at the end. May have taken out a little bit too much, but that might just be the inletting black in there messing us up, or messing with our eyes. So it's not maybe as clean as I had hoped there, but as we remove this wood, that will kind of true up a little bit and might look a little bit nicer for us. So now that we've got that in, I'm going to put my chisels to the side here to protect their edges. We will take our awl and eyeball our screw holes here. Just kind of looking for center, and we'll do that at the front here as well. Again, I do my best to get it started with my fingers. I'm going to employ the ratcheting on my screwdriver. And one thing we're going to do is we're going to cut some deeper slots in these. And because we want the stars to align for our build, we're going to keep and continue setting our screws so that they're in line with the stock. It's kind of an old school muzzleloader deal that you just want to make sure that you're doing to appease big muzzleloader. Our barrel extension, our barrel key extension here, needs set. Eyeball our center holes. We're going to look in our manual. Barrel wedge, really tap the wedge. Drill 2 1/16 inch holes, 3/8 inches deep. Okay. And I think we need to do this for both. Yes, we do. Okay. So we'll grab our 16th inch drill bit. So we should be drilling these with the plate in or not. But we're just going to run with it here. There it is. We'll flip this over and do the same thing on the other side. It's probably a testament to the tension of the CVA barrel key there that this plate has stayed in as long as it has. So we'll eyeball, again, our center hole. Not very centered there, Ethan. Making everybody sad. The last piece of hardware we have to affix to the stock here is our nose cap. You can see in here as it kind of bounces around. Set that on half cock, and we should be able to pop our, there we go, barrel out. I'm going to set the barrel to the side. Now this is a little tricky as we're looking at it here, because you can see we have quite a bit of gap space here, so we want to make sure that we're able to get this as right as we can. Place nose cap on barrel to check fit. Okay, that was fine. Allow nose cap to slide on completely. So when they say completely, do they mean, no they don't, because there's a, yeah, okay. At first I thought they meant for the nose cap to slide on all the way up here to the front, but we have some angles cast in here, which makes me think that they really only intended the wood to come up to this flat line here. Kind of an ease of manufacturing, I suppose. And the way that the nose cap lines up with the barrel rib right now, I don't think we want to back it up any on the stock. Ram and hole alignment is good. Securely tape nose cap to stock so it will not move. Remove barrel. Drill 2 of our favorite holes, 1/2 inch deep. Okay. We'll grab some tape. Which way do you think they wanted us to tape? I'm kind of thinking maybe a little bit like this, and then maybe around, kind of like this. I don't think that's really going anywhere. We can still get to our holes. So now we need to drill our 3 30-second holes. I suppose what you could do is get this lined up on either side and get your hole started, pop the nose cap off, and finish your holes. I opted instead to just trim the tail on my tape grumpy coming out. Oh, rats. Okay. Already there. We can drop our screws in for our nose cap. I'm not really sold on the strength of this as far as these screws are going down through here. Something that we could do is try to run a pin through this wood to make that a little stronger. Yeah, not super happy with that attachment here. If we had some more wood coming up through here, but right now I don't know if there's much more than 1/8 of an inch of those screws into that wood, and being on the fore end here of our stock, that could be a little hairy. So I'm going to pop the barrel back in now. Everything still fits and lines up, which is good. Barrel key works. Awesome. So you can see how that nose cap, fits in with the barrel. So we've got it attached to the stock, and it still matches up with the barrel. And then you can kind of see some details there of the one extension plate we put in. There's our second one. Our lock plate, didn't do anything with that. We have our trigger guard here. The last thing that we need to do as far as hardware attachments is our patch box. So let's set that up. Does not fit, which it does. Fits really good. 1/4 inch deep, 3/32 holes. Okay, we're gonna eyeball that. Let's go in halfway from our 1/2 inch. I feel like we're gonna eyeball that is gonna be the joke of this series for me, at least. But we're doing pretty well eyeballing. This finishes up all of the screws that came with this kit, except for a tang screw, so we're only missing one item here, which is good, especially for a kit this old. I feel like online you'll find that a lot, where you need to quit talking and screwing. There we go. You'll find where it might not have everything, might not be complete, but so far this has been complete except for our barrel tang bolt. So it took a little bit of effort, but we do have all of the hardware now fitted and ready to go with this stock. I'm a little nervous about the nose cap here. I think I'm going to pick up some longer screws just so that we're going through a little bit farther into the wood. Like I said, we could run a pin through here, and we still might do that as well to be a little bit more traditionally period for this kit, but it's not the kind of thing that we're going for 100% historical accuracy with this CVA kit. So we've got the butt plate, we've got the trigger assembly, the trigger guard, our nose cap, and our barrel key plates and everything. It's all ready to go now. At this state, we could take this out and go hunt with this CVA Hawken, but we're not going to do that. We're going to go a few other steps here, get this finished up and get it cleaned up. The next video, what we're going to do is we're going to start refining the wood stock in the areas where it mates and lines up with the pieces of hardware. So you can see here in our patch box, we have quite a bit of extra wood here between the patch box and the surface of the stock. Same thing around our butt plate, especially the back end of our butt plate here. A little bit of wood to take care of, and we're going to clean up our mortises around our lock plate and get this shaped up a little bit more like a more traditional Hawken. Because this is a mass market kit, is what I call them. They made a zillion of these. And the manufacturing processes for them were designed to make it easy to produce and be close when it got sent out. What I like to do with these, I really like to clean up the curves, clean up the lines, and try to make them sleek from all angles. So we're going to narrow up quite a bit of the stock here as we come into the barrel channel, and we're going to work again on our cheek rest back here, get this cleaned up and polished up. Just kind of routed out right now. We want that to be a little bit nicer. We want a little bit more definition here on our comb as we come back here, and that's where looking at some original Hawkens and looking at contemporary made kind of master-made Hawkens is really going to benefit you if you're doing a kit like this. You can get a lot of ideas, start thinking about some things that you can do to make your kit really yours. That's enough yakking for this video. In the next video, we'll jump into shaping the stock. Thank you so much for watching. If you have not picked up your own muzzleloader kit, I really encourage you to try it out. There's a lot of retailers out there. I'm going to supply a muzzleloader kit for just about anything, any interest in muzzleloading that you have. You can find a kit for that. I'm Ethan. I love muzzleloading. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you next time.